We have an update on the Vince McMahon lawsuit. Elsewhere, Ricky Starks has commented on his recent absence from AEW, and another WWE contract is set to expire very soon. It's all in the wrestling news. Hello everybody, Jack and Sam back again with our second news video of the day. There's been an update on the lawsuit going on between Janelle Grant and Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics has tweeted the following.
He said, all four parties in Grant versus WWE, McMahon and Laurinaitis collectively filed a proposed stipulation and order with various deadline dates the parties have to submit filings. The filing notably mentions WWE also anticipates filing a motion to compel arbitration and stay this action pending arbitration, which removes any doubt that all three defendants will be moving to compel arbitration. So essentially, from what I can glean in normal English, this is that while we've already heard that McMahon and Laurinaitis want to keep this out of court in line with the original non-disclosure agreement that was signed, WWE are now siding with that argument and also want it out of, I guess, a court setting to go back into settling, I guess.
And I don't really know anything about legal strategy or anything like that, but I guess the question in the air that's now sort of been answered was whether WWE would do this or whether they would not fall in line with what Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis want to do to kind of maybe distance themselves a little bit. But I guess while on screen they are trying to still distance themselves, maybe this makes it seem like they also would like to, in the long term, try and minimize the damage to their own reputation by keeping this out of court. I just don't know whether what's going to do more damage, the fact that they've done this and seem to have sided with Vince's wishes, or if they'd gone against him, would that have damaged them in the long run because it would have been more likely to end up in court? I don't know.
And also if this all backfires and it ends up in court anyway and things start coming out, wider things start coming out that maybe aren't publicly sort of out there right now in line with what everything else, it's going to look even worse for the company, I guess, because it's trying to cover stuff up. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, there'll be more updates on that as and when they occur. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics is well on top of it. He seems to understand a lot of stuff, so stay tuned to his Twitter and, of course, our own website, Cultaholic.com, for any further news on these happenings. Now, Jerry Lawler was recently released from his announcer's contract, his
like
announcing
a talent
role.
contract, right?
Yeah, but it seems to be understood that people believe that he's still under the Legends deal with WWE. But he's spoken following the release from his announcing gig, saying, speaking to PW Insider, saying, my career has probably ended with WWE, and that's just one of those things that goes with my getting over all the stuff that happened with the stroke that he recently had, of course. Just sitting behind a desk and doing it, commentating on a match again, was extremely difficult. So I think that's fair play. He's prioritizing his health, and so the company seems to be as well.
Been through a hell of a lot, and as horrible as it is to say, things have to move on, time has to move on, and ultimately, I think there was always going to come a point where Lawler wouldn't be one of the lead announcers week by week, and I think now, especially again with everything he's been through, it's just, he deserves a rest, right?
Yeah, and like you say, it seems like in pushing this whole new Triple H era, they're changing certain aspects of the presentation of the product and everything. And one of those is the announce teams. We've seen Corey Graves now as a play-by-play guy. We've seen people move around in different roles and stuff. It seems to be a combination of both his own health and the company wanting to move in a different direction. But he does still appear to be under that Legends contract.
He's always going to be a brand ambassador anywhere if he goes with that voice.
Yes. Switching over now, crossing the line to AEW, where Ricky Starks has commented on his recent absence from AEW TV. The former tag team champion responded to a PW Insider quote on social media, which stated that he was in Jacksonville at the time of last week's show, but wasn't on TV because he was getting checked by AEW's medical team. And he replied, because everyone had to do their annual physical. Now, it's kind of twofold news here, I suppose. One is that Starks seems to be denying that he's got any sort of long-term injury, but also it kind of seems, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but it seems like there's a little bit of discontent here, or like he's making it very clear that he's not being kept off TV because of any injury concerns.
He's good to go.
Yeah, he's saying I was there, and the only reason I was being checked over was because it was my annual physical checkup. But he seems to be saying, but apart from that, I was good to go.
But he's somebody that he's just gone from strength to strength, it feels. So I think that I don't know if there's any real reason why he'd be sort of removed and out of the loop when I feel he's somebody the company will be getting behind and starting to build in a different way.
Well, you would think so. I mean, he hasn't wrestled since the March 30th episode of Collision, where himself and Big Bill were competing together. They are, of course, former tag team champions. Bill seems to now have moved on, and now he's part of Chris Jericho's learning tree. Don't know where that leaves Starks, really, unless he's also going to join that faction. But
he needs to just go and just hack away at Big Bill's legs.
Yeah.
Just take him down.
But the weird thing with Ricky Starks is he's always been very publicly open about his closeness with Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. And while nothing's ever really come out to suggest that AEW are unhappy with him in any way, a lot of fans I've noticed do seem to feel like Starks isn't being used as prominently as he should be, given that he was one of the 4 pillars and all that sort of stuff. Wait, was he? Sammy, Darby, MJF, Jungle Boy? No, he wasn't. But he was also regarded on that level of like these promising indie talents not connected with WWE, who AEW were going to build their own thing around. And then he was pictured at WrestleMania celebrating Cody's win. I think he was at last year's WrestleMania as well. There's
been just a lot of hype and conjecture around the fact that he would fit seamlessly into, I think, anywhere you put him in WWE right now as well. So it's there to, I guess, it's going to constantly be a rumor, I guess, as long as there are 2 major companies, like for any talent like this, where there's maybe any potential kayfabe discontent, is going to lead to these sort of conversations.
Yes, and also it does seem strange that he's just been absent from TV, unless they're just giving his character a bit of a creative break, come back as a singles guy, because as you say, he would fit seamlessly into WWE, but I think he's also got incredible strengths that AEW could use as well.
Yeah, maybe they're just in a bit of a turnaround pattern with him right now, and they're just sort of waiting for the right time to just push him back out there.
Yeah, in related news, it's not like a major news story or anything, but Dave Meltzer confirmed that Sammy Guevara is still suspended in AEW.
Right.
People are wondering, this seems like quite a long suspension. Is it possibly because he's been suspended multiple times and it's just like a kind of a...
It's like an extra long detention for getting detention so much over the course of the year.
Yes, it's a head of year detention. If you do you have those? I never had one. It was really good, but...
Yeah, really good.
Head of year detention. If someone got a head of year detention, everyone was like, whoa, what have they done?
You're going to go sit in an office.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And then above that, there was, I don't know if I knew anyone who ever had one, but a headmaster's detention.
Oh, it was like expulsion after that.
Well, sticking with AEW for a second, because Will Ospreay was recently a guest on Swerve Strickland's podcast. Lots of interesting stuff. You can find it on YouTube. But also, he spoke about his future goals with AEW. This was Ospreay speaking to Swerve, saying, I want to take AEW everywhere. I want to do shows in Tokyo. I want to do shows in Osaka. I want to do shows in Sydney, Melbourne, Dublin. He's all over the place.
Just all over.
That's my main thing with AEW. I do want to take it around the world because I do believe that travel broadens us. I believe the best way AEW can grow is by traveling and wanting to do more pay-per-views out in Japan, Mexico, Canada, England, Europe, everywhere. That's my goal with AEW.
No, he said Europe, but he didn't say France because he's scared.
That's the thing.
Scared.
This is quite pertinent at the minute because we've noticed everyone's been reminded that these WWE shows that Triple H seems keen on running in seldom visited locations for PLEs. The crowds are really hot, as we saw in France.
We've said it a lot as members of the UK wrestling audience. We're starved of pay-per-views, but you can say that for about 90% of the world in terms of wrestling shows. So I think it is one of those where I'll never forget the atmosphere at Clash. I can't imagine what it must have been like being a Backlash last year or this year. It's going to be a hell of an atmosphere at the Hydro this year for Clash. And I think the more markets that both big companies go to, the more they're going to see these insane receptions. Because, lest we forget, AEW at Wembley was one hell of a crowd turnout, one hell of a response the entire night. Yep. So I think, the more shows, it makes sense. Ospreay, is somebody who's very proud of what he's doing, wants to always carry the company he's worked for on his back and get it out there to as many eyes as possible. So it makes sense. It
does make sense. Ospreay, obviously, he's kind of a veteran of multiple scenes now. The UK scene, obviously, where he came up, also now Japan, and Australia, he spent a lot of time developing the scene over there. It does make sense with what he wants to do. I know he always is very proud as well of the countries he's wrestled in. Doesn't he have he used to have the little tags on his gear, the countries, the flags of... so it makes sense. I wonder if that's in line with what Tony Khan envisions, because now AEW still very much run like almost all of their shows in the US and Canada.
I think it's one of those things where as AEW continues to grow, you hopefully going to see more of this. I think, your home market is very important, of course. So the majority of pay-per-views for both companies are going to probably still take place in the US. But I think just getting stuff out there on the road, even random TVs, even if you're doing like specials or if there's any way, because AEW a bit more want to do those WCW Clash level kind of TV one-offs. But I think, even something like that based in the UK, where there's a little bit more going on than maybe one of the classic UK exclusive pay-per-views where no belts had changed hands, or they changed hands on the last night of the tour or whatever back. But yeah, I want to just see more wrestling in crazier places. Transylvania, come on.
It doesn't just bring the energy with these crowds that are maybe starved, as you say, of PLEs, but pay-per-views, but also it gives a chance to shine a spotlight on certain wrestlers who might be from those places who wouldn't normally get a big showcase match. We saw with Zelina Vega in Puerto Rico, for example. So yeah, I think there's just so many strengths to doing that sort of strategy. Now heading back to WWE, because another NXT Superstars contract is set to expire. Boa took to Instagram to announce an end to his incredible 7-year journey with WWE, revealing that his contract expires on June 1st. We heard similar regarding Scripts as well recently in NXT. Not that he'd been released, but that his contract was expiring soon.
And it wasn't going to be renewed.
It was expected that he was going to be let go. This comes in the wake of several releases in WWE, including in the past few months, Jinder Mahal, Von Wagner, of course. And one of the stars released was SmackDown wrestler Xia Li, who has now announced that she'll be taking independent bookings from July 18th, which seems to line up with a 90-day no-compete.
Yeah.
She was released back in April, and then 3 months later would be, I believe, July 18th.
It's like you have to enter this cocoon for 3 months after leaving WWE, isn't it? And then you finally get to step out of it.
She's managed to do something very useful in that time, because she's managed to, by the looks of her social media, secure a new ring name, which is very clever. It's just Xia Li, but Li is spelled L-E-E.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Because, I mean, that's the best way to do it. It keeps the familiarity that people might already have with you.
We did see WWE trademark Tongaloa the other day, as well as Tangaloa. So we were wondering if they were starting to maybe trademark misspellings or slightly different names and stuff. But
maybe they want to like they've done with people like, I remember they had Ludwig Kaiser, then changed it to Ludwig Kaiser. Maybe they just want to alter his name slightly. I don't know. I like him being called Tangaloa, but that's because we're more familiar with him from New Japan.
Either way, I hope Boa goes on to more. Like, I think especially as somebody who I don't really feel we got to see very much of. Throughout his run, we'd see little sort of standout moments here and there, and then it felt like he would go back off on a loop for a while, and then he'd come back. And
I think
for somebody being with the company for 7 years as well, you got to imagine he's picked up quite a lot. So
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think he may have been Solo Sikoa's last NXT feud before he then came up to the main roster and joined the Bloodline. So he was definitely a very capable wrestler.
Oh yeah. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more of him for sure, because it just feels like somebody that we didn't really get to know properly, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And Xia Li as well, of course. We'll have to see where they both end up. Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave your thoughts and opinions on any of these stories in that comment section down below, and check out our earlier news video today on this very channel as well. I've been Jack, this has been Sam. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.